George Kilpatrick, Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. October the 14th. Mark your calendars. The Center of Hope International presents the annual STEM, throw that word in there, STEM, MWBE Entrepreneurial Conference with some high-powered sisters and Bishop Dewberry. I got to say that because they look good on this poster, and then there's the bishop in the middle of them. But it's a great conference, entrepreneurship, access to capital, certification, all that. Bishop Dewberry, welcome once again. So let's run it down. A great conference, a great opportunity for folks.
Absolutely. There's so many things that I could say about this conference, particularly during this particular time. I think, and maybe I said this before, but I really think that we are on the verge of something great in this city and in our region. And it's not just Micron, but you can tell, that even with the announcement of Micron technology and them building the 4 semiconductor plants here, that there are, that has created a new hope, a new world view of Syracuse becoming, more relevant than it has in many years that have gone by. We've gone, as you well know, through a very extensive dry period, economically speaking, and the end result is that we've struggled on our south and west side, particularly among people of color, economically speaking, and now we are on the verge of something great. I think too that the other thing that really excites me too is that I see an emergence of young people coming back here for a lot of reasons, and one of which, of course, has to do with opportunity and access here. And so, I was at a women's conference earlier today, and sitting in the back of the room, although I was asked to participate at the end, just listening to them and their business ideals and things of that nature. And as I listened to a lot of their concerns and the questions that they raised, they asked a lot of questions about things that we have at our summit, things like access to capital, persons who want, and need help in developing their businesses. So we have a entrepreneurship development thing that's taught by Melinda Emerson, the small biz lady, a lady that's renowned in a business expert. They talked about, what they needed to do to become MWBE certified. And of course, we have one of our participants in our plenary session is attorney Jason Miles Clark, who is the executive director of MWBE for Empire State Development. And so again, there were a lot of questions about things that are relevant to persons who are just really starting out or have started out, and they hit a bump in the road, and they need information, whether it's access to capital or how to maximize social media in order to market their business enterprise. And these are things, as you will know, that some of which have been relevant throughout the years, but certainly in this technological age, being able to handle or manage these things such as social media platforms, et cetera, is a wonderful tool, a wonderful asset that a small business owner can take advantage of if they have the information that they need in order to scale their business.
So why do you believe in the Q so much? I mean, you've talked about the Q's being on the verge of bringing this conference, really trying to bring other entrepreneurs along. What's the seed here that you're seeing that maybe others haven't seen?
Well, I guess my perspective is as from a pastoral point of view, because I came here at a time where, at least the residue of economic growth was just beginning to dissipate, and maybe some might differ with me in terms of when that actually started. But I came in the early 90s, and so I was here when all the tech or the companies, the manufacturing companies were here, the Carrier Corporation. And remember having, one of my deacons, when we would have our annual picnic, we would go out to Carrier Corporation, their park, and have our church picnic out there. I remember, Bristol Myers Squibb and Chrysler and GE and all these great manufacturing places that employ so many different people. The church that I pastored at the time, many of the older members, they worked in those places, and thus was the reason why they were able to accumulate the wealth that they had, that allowed them to be able to pay for their children to go to college, that allowed them to become home owners and things of that nature. And then I also experienced, have lived through the time where, all that began to dissipate. And as I seen, in the former city that I lived in when I went in to do my undergrad degree at the University of Akron, Akron being the rubber capital of the world, having Goodyear, Firestone, Cyberlink Tire, Mohawk Tire, Cooper Tire, and all those manufacturing plants there. When I first came to the city as a student, and the smell of rubber being so strong at night that it would make you nauseated. But by the time I left the city coming to Syracuse, there wasn't a place in Akron, the rubber capital of the world, where they were actually manufacturing the tires. All the manufacturing plants had moved south and overseas, and there would just remain some of the corporate offices there. So the city, had to shift. It went through a major transition. People began to move and to other cities that were more prosperous. And of course, being here in Syracuse, we saw that transition, members move and relocated because they were looking for more opportunity. Young people who left, went to college and never came back home because of the lack of opportunity, and things of that nature. But now, I just think that we've gone through some of the most lowest moments, in our history as a city. And I take ownership of it in the sense that home is where you lay your hat. This is where my kids, when I first came here, they were much younger, they were small, and and this is really home for them, even though they know they were born in another state. But this is where they grew up at in their adolescent years and their teenage years before they went off and went to college. And so
did they come back home?
they did not come back.
Right. So that's the thing, right? How do we create the opportunity where our children see opportunities in the hometown that they grew up in, right? So right now, I've got two here and two gone. So we'll see what happens, right? But that's the challenge, right? And so a conference like this is a way, right, to lay a foundation that our kids would see opportunities here. Now they might be in great opportunities wherever they are, and we want them to experience that. But especially for our children, Black children in particular, how do we create that generational legacy in this community?
Sometimes, when you were born and raised in a community, you don't always see the diamonds because of the rough, because you're covered up.
Right. You just want to go.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is the sixth annual Minority and Women's Business Economic Empowerment Summit, STEM Summit, and not one of my guests. And I'm talking about, I'm talking about bringing in people that have proven worldwide renowned success. Whether it's Aisha Bowe, who just sealed a deal for $1 billion with the U.S., the largest, minority business contract for female in the U.S. $1 billion. A sister that started a business just 10 years ago. To all the other people, whether you talk about Fran and how she matriculated, Fran Dillard, how she matriculated with Micron and things like that, and became their vice president and DEI officer, to Sonia Booker, who's a real estate mogul in Atlanta, who started out, just like many of us did. A young girl from Mississippi goes to Atlanta, big city like Atlanta, and gets into insurance, and 6 years later becomes not only a broker but sells her business, and then she gets hooked up with a guy named C.J. Russell. Who at the time was a black contractor in Atlanta under Maynard Jackson. He offered him an opportunity to help build Atlanta's Hatfield Airport. And so he built half of that. When he got tired of that, which was major and still is major, he left the business over to his sons and wanted to, work on some small projects. And that's when he met Sonia Booker. And Sonia Booker, of course, her estimated value is around $50 million. She's a developer, building housing tracks and all that kind of thing. So it's interesting. I say this because of the fact that I was talking to someone that I don't know if I can call her name out, Ann Messinger, but she was asking, she said, Bishop, tell me this. How is it that, because she was talking about Melinda Emerson, who was on the thing. I guess she spoke at the Wise Women's Conference a couple of years ago, and Ann went to pick her up, and she said as they were driving back into the city, she said there was a billboard that had Melinda's picture up there. I mean, that's how big, she was perceived as being, and she is for that matter. And she said, how do you get these people to come here? And I said, well, part of his favorite, part of his relational, you establish relationship. And when people see your heart, they're much more inclined to believe what you're saying.
Right.
That's always been, because these are not people that I grew up with. These are not people who went to school with me. These are people that I built relationship with. And when they saw my heart, they bought into the ideal that, it would be worth their while to come to the city because of the clarion call of need. So we need the inspiration. And I'm saying I'm not just talking about those who are privileged, those who travel in some of our unique circles.
Right.
They experience a lot of things, and they're around people, and they hear them talk and things of that nature. I'm talking about people that are from the margins. And when I listen to the sentiments of those women that were at that women's conference that I was at this morning, and the ones that emailed me afterwards, and they said, and I hear the desperation and the passion that's in their heart, that they just want information. They want somebody to help them get to that next level. For them, that's their Goliath. That unless they slay that Goliath that causes them to fear, they will always be. And I don't mean to preach at you, but without
it's so funny you said to preach at me. I felt it, and I'll share a story with you in a minute.
David would have always just been a shepherd boy had it not been for Goliath. He needed a Goliath in his life to get to the next level, but he had to kill it first. And for many of these ladies, they have to kill that, and they're looking for ways to kill that so they can get to that next level.
Yeah, well, I'll share the story with you. The year was 1998, and I did not have a church, and I didn't have a church at that time, and I needed to go someplace that was close to where I lived because I was grieving my father. And I don't know where this came from, but I just wanted to share with you that the church, Bethany was the church at the time, and I didn't join at that time, but I needed someplace to go. And that experience helped me to deal with my father's passing, because he ended up passing the first of the following year, 1999. But I needed someplace to be comforted through that grief. So just wanted to share that with you. I don't think I ever told you that, but that was true.
I've never heard that. No.
Yeah. It definitely came up. It definitely was an experience that I had. And it was just for me. Like, I didn't tell, nobody knew. I just came and I sat. I didn't say anything, but I needed a space and a place to experience what I needed, which was grief and healing. I don't know what that have to do with anything, But the
Well,
fact is,
it has a lot to do, I think, with everything. And if I could just flip it just a little bit,
yeah, yeah,
I know when I think about my journey here in this city, that I've been more of a builder than just a dreamer. There are some
right.
people that just dream,
Hmm.
and they never see them come to fruition. And I've been fortunate enough, to be able to do a lot of things, down through the years. And the wonderful thing about being a builder, a dreamer slash builder, is that you're always, your mind is always clicking, looking for new opportunity, not just for yourself. Because really, when I think about the summits that I've done down through the years, or any of the things that I've done, it's never really been about me per se, but it's always been for the sake of other people. Because I don't really need to do this, and I certainly don't need to do this and take on the weight of this at this juncture in my life. But because of, I'm committed, and because of the fact that I see and I've seen down through the years, just like you have, and maybe that's why you do what you do, and you're as passionate about what you do as you are, and we both are, for that matter, even after coming through a period of transition, which I
Yeah,
think is one of the most significant transition periods in that we've ever experienced, not just as a nation, but all around the world, and that's the
right.
pandemic. And so, but because you're resilient and you're passionate and and you are highly motivated, you've had to make a lot of adjustments to reinvent yourself, and certainly, this economy and opportunity and things always, whenever there's an interruption, I see there's always a a divine announcement to do something different. So you've
Mhm.
had to make that paradigm shift in order to get to that next level, and so for me, the next level is not leaving people behind, but trying to take as many people as I can with me as we go up. And so I'm excited, again, when I look in the community and I see what people are doing. And I think that too, this is something, George, that's really personal to me. I think that one of my frustrations as a pastor is that I don't think that from a pastoral point of view, that we have worked as closely as we could have. We missed a lot of opportunity
Mhm.
down to years doing our own thing, so to speak. And
Right.
and um and while that might have worked, during a certain season, so much has changed now, where we have to begin to formulate relationships where we can cooperate and build together, because none of us, can do it all by ourselves. All of
Yeah.
us need somebody and need to learn the value of collaboration and partnership. And that's why, like, I try to support the other organizations in terms of what they do. My organization is actually a program organization where we not only, do the annual business summit, but, I have an entrepreneurship training program, Black Media Mogul training program, that I do in collaboration with professors at Syracuse University. I have a STEM in the Middle program that teaches youth coding, that I do, that I do. That will begin in the fall of this year. I also do a summer literacy camp that we call it a summer theater reading camp that integrates arts and reading, because if you can't read, there's no point in talking about STEM or any of that, And as we well know, many of our kids are challenged. I believe that it starts at the youth, at the early age, and if we can circumvent and interject, hope and inspiration to these kids, then perhaps that might be the catalyst of what they need to help them get to their next level. And then, one of the other things that just recently happened is that we got approved to be, just like your church, and an alternative educational site for Syracuse City School District, because we can allow our district to fail. The district, and under our superintendent, obviously he sees a value of partnering with community staples and things in the community in order to help address a tremendous need that we suffer from in our community among Black and Brown youth. But that's how we have to do it. We have to build it together. So the summit, to digress back to that, is just another way of trying to collaborate to build together. And if I can use the platform and and relationships that I have to help bring people here that I think can help stimulate the minds and hearts of those who are just as passionate and want to want to give back to the community and serve their community and grow and develop their business concepts in this community, then that's what I am determined to do. And hopefully, those who are in attendance will see the value of that. All the workshops that we have that are there for them for their benefit. Hopefully, they will take advantage of that, as well as the networking opportunities that it would present for them and others.
All right, mark your calendars. It is October 14th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Marriott Syracuse downtown. Sonia Booker, Fran Dillard, Aisha Bowe, Melissa Anderson, Melissa Emerson, high-powered sisters at the MWBE STEM Entrepreneurial Conference 2023. 6 years is presented by the Center of Hope International. Bishop Dewberry. Let's tell people it's $100 per individual, $175 per couple, and $50 for youth 13 to 18. And you got a deadline coming up October the 6th for registration. So coh-inc.org on the web. And wherever you see that flyer, you can also just do that QR code and jump in, and we'll have the link wherever you see or hear this video. We'll have the link for you there as well. So with that, Bishop Ronald Dewberry, Center of Hope International CEO, good to talk to you, and good to kick it a little bit. And I love the energy and the hope and the enthusiasm for the 6th annual MWBE STEM Entrepreneurial Summit Conference, whatever you want to call it. It's about doing business and taking things to the next level. And I love it because we're in a season. There's lots of going on this weekend. You got the Dream Summit this weekend. You got Charlene Tarver and the Women's Economic Institute. So I love that we are in the season of empowerment, if you want to call it. And we hope and you just went to a conference today. So there's enough room for everybody to win. And that's what's important. Bishop Ronald Dewberry, thank you.
Thanks,
I got to run to the next thing. You know how it is out here in these streets.
You got to do what you got to do. But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And good luck with the summit. I'm sure it'll be great.
Be blessed.
Inspiration for the nation.